What's going on, guys? Obsessed Tackle back, and today we're going to start a new series, which is what do I carry in my bag? And this is going to be for the month of June. And this is a topic that I think a lot of people might ask themselves is, what do I bring when I'm shore fishing? I do kayak fish, and that's going to be another video of what I bring on my kayak during the month. But shore fishing is a little bit more difficult, right? How much tackle do you bring? How heavy should your bag be? There's so many questions to ask, right? So last year I tended to bring a lot more than what I needed, and this year I've really settled down on what I needed to bring. I've got 3 boxes here that I'm going to talk about, and I've got some plastics that I want to definitely talk about for what are some really good baits for the month of June. I'm up here in the Midwest in Michigan, really close to Ohio, very close to Erie, and the weather conditions have changed drastically from last month to this month. It went from 60 degrees to 80 constantly with humidity. So the bite's changing every day. So that's something I've got to be prepared for, but also not overthink, because that's something that I think a lot of fishermen do is we overthink. So let's start with the first box, which is going to be the Bass Mafia Ice Box. It's a small little box. Comparing it to like a 3600 size box, you can see very different in size. This is what I carry all my terminal tackle in. Everything from some offset EWGs to some flipping hooks to bobber stops. In this compartment over here, big thing when bottom contact's on, they love a Texas rig, right? I've got some small lead in here, some stuff for some Tokyo rigs, and then some smaller tungsten. This box up here is a 1/4 ounce and under. Right now, the lily pads in the grass are not growing up just quite yet. There are some patches, but not to where I need to constantly bring a 1/2 ounce and up, which I do have some in here if I do find some that I want to fish. You know, we've got some 3/4 of an ounce and some 1/2 ounce, but primarily that's not being thrown right now. And then in here I've got some wacky rig hooks, and I've got some rebarb robo worm hooks, and then just let's see if I can pull one out, and then a regular drop shot hook right there. And then I've got some drop shot weights in here. Ned rigs, because Ned rigs are still really effective right now. I'm going to talk about this a lot. When the bass are really finicky, Ned rigs can just pull out the fish. A lot of times for me, it's pulling out smaller fish, but it's still fish. We've got some swim bait heads in here. This is just a VMC swim bait head, which is something I'm going to talk about. And then we've got some shaky heads in here. Again, bass gets tough. Sometimes those finesse style baits really shine. So that's going to be it for my terminal for what I bring. Pretty simple. There is a lot of stuff in there, but I used to carry a lot bigger of a box and it just was not effective. So the next box I bring is going to be these Plano waterproof 3600 size box. I've tried to find better boxes than this. More expensive boxes, the Edges, the Bass Mafias, and nothing I find can kind of come close to this box. I've had this box for about 2 years now. It's done me perfectly. I've dropped it in water. I've dropped it on the ground. It's not broken. Absolutely fantastic. So it's got the 3 latch systems. Some people don't like. I don't mind. In here, the reason why I can't find a box to replace this is this huge compartment that it has over here. You can put dividers in here, but I don't. And then all of these do not just come straight across. A lot of boxes you see now, these dividers are going straight across. So it's hard to find a place to put spinnerbaits in, which we're getting into kind of that summertime where spinnerbaits are really key. As soon as the wind starts blowing up against that bank, throw in a spinnerbait. We got some whites, some straight chartreuses, and then I always try to keep like a sexy shad in there. But those are key baits for the summertime up here. Next, I do keep some jerk baits in here. This is a Lucky Craft, but these aren't suspending jerk baits. I don't like throwing suspending jerk baits in the summer. I like throwing slow sinking or slow rising baits just to mimic a dying bait fish a little bit better. So something like that. I've got 4 in here. Everything from Rapala to Lucky Craft, some Jenkos. Drop that one. But something like this, a little bit more vibrant in color, but slow rising, which is great. Next, we've got frog fishing coming up hard. Not just in the mats, but some of that grass that's coming up, the reeds that were dead from last year that are still there. Frogs are key, and I love a frog bite. I love topwater, but frogs are one of my favorite types of fishing to do. We've got some standard walking frogs, some gliding frogs, and then, of course, when you are fishing that open water, we've got some popping frogs. For me, it's really important to have frogs in the box just in case, frog bite jumps on. And then for some more finesse profiles on the topwater, we've got some regular poppers. I don't throw poppers too often. It's something I want to get into a little bit more. I know they do catch some big fish, but they also just catch normal fish, which is great for topwater. And then we've got 2 different style walking baits. We got one that has a little bit more of a lip, and then one that's just a standard walking bait. I like doing that. Sometimes that cut mouth can put up a little bit more of a reaction bite versus just a standard walking bait. But you kind of figure that out as you go. If someone's throwing a popper and they're catching slightly, a few more fish than me, sometimes I'll go to a walking bait that has a mouth. But, those dying fish that are kind of up on the surface, still kind of jumping back and forth, topwater is key. So next is my big box that I carry. This is going to be the Plano Edge box. Absolutely love this box. I used to use this Plano 3700 with the 3 latches, but I noticed I was losing a lot of baits in here due to rusty hooks, because those latches do keep the moisture in. It's a completely waterproof box, but they do keep the moisture in. And I do find that problem with this box as well. I'm not going to lie, I lost some spinnerbaits last year because I tend to just throw them in there as soon as they're done using them. But I can't find a box that has that opening. That's my problem. So in this, I have my Plano Edge, like I said. It's really nice being able to see straight through it, just being able to kind of quickly go to what I want. One latch right here, one hand can do it, which is really nice. In here, though, I've got an array of different things. I've got everything from small finesse jigs to a little bit of a bigger profile football head jig. When the bass are kind of eating on that bottom contact but aren't eating bigger baits, these finesse football head jigs are really nice to just drag across the bottom. Next, we've got some just standard flipping jigs, stuff you can flip underneath docks, you can flip into different lily pads. Just a really versatile bait that I like keeping several different colors on me. But jigs work all year round, right? I mean, that's a standard understanding that jigs catch big fish, and that's why I keep so many jigs with me. Next, we've got our smaller jigs. Now, I know it doesn't look very small, but the hook is very tiny on that. The skirt's a little bit big. I've got to trim that, but so again, flipping underneath docks, if they're not eating the bigger jig, they might eat that smaller jig. Then we've got swim jigs. So we've got some swim jigs here. This is a Megabass swim jig with that little underspin on there. Swim jigs are something I barely take off in the summertime. I always have one rigged up. I absolutely love it. Fishing it deep, fishing it shallow, skipping under docks, whatever it may be, they flat out catch fish. And one of my favorite swim jigs to throw is going to be the 6th Sense Divine swim jig. Has that little screw lock on there, so you keep a lot more of your plastics than most other baits. Big stout hook on there. This is actually my favorite color too, is a white with some chartreuse and a little bit of purple. But just imitates that running bait fish, which is kind of what our trend is going to go into here in a second. But just mimics those bait fish. Next, we've got chatterbaits. We've got a bunch of different colors. We've got whites, we've got some chartreuses, some baby bass colors. But the one I want to focus on right now is going to be this guy right here. This is an old fart lure. These things are fantastic for fishing up shallow, which I got this in one of my favorite colors, which is a bluegill. Bluegill are starting to spawn up here, and bass are hungry for some gills. So when you can throw a chatterbait with some ruckus, get some ruckus in there, and you know, mimic a bluegill, the bass love them and they chase hard for them. So yeah, there's that. And then next we're going into some cranking. We're not quite into cranking season just yet. I am catching a lot of fish on a crank, but as soon as that cranking season really comes, where you're throwing like that DT6 all the way up until a DT10, bass just start hammering them. We're not quite just there yet, but we're very close. So we've got some DT6s just in some normal shad patterns. We've got some brighter colors in this, like this parrot, but really, really nice crank to throw. And of course you got your 1.5s as well. Just again, nice shad pattern, nice shad baits, just going for them. And something that I carry a lot of, I mean, I have 2 cases or 2 slots full of lipless crankbaits. Something that a lot of people don't talk about in the summertime. Same thing with jerkbaits. They don't really talk about them. Liplesses are fantastic. There's a couple different ways to fish them. Yo-yoing it or burning it straight in. In the summertime, I love burning a lipless through grass. It's a fantastic way to catch big fish. Those nice rattles. Sometimes you have to switch over to a silent one, which I have noticed right when you get out of spring where a lot of people are throwing them. Sometimes you have to switch over to that silent and fish start to really react to them. But different baits, different colors in there, just some natural shads and some chromes, but really imitating shad still, not really going towards the bluegill. I'll do that with swim jigs and chatterbaits a lot. Same thing with jigs too. So next I want to talk about my plastics. Now I'm not going to show you every plastic I bring. I do bring a Ziploc baggie, a gallon bag that I bring with me. Again, not too much tackle. This does seem like a lot of tackle to bring, but it's just right. I have just enough cranks, just enough jigs to get the job done. But plastics, I don't like to carry too many because I end up not using a lot of them. So the first one I'm going to talk about is going to be the Strike King Rage Menace. The Rage Menace is perfect. I've got one right here. This is what I rig on all my chatterbaits. Rigging it up and down where they flick back and forth is a great way to catch some fish. Really gets some really strong action. Another thing that I will throw on the back is a simple Kai tack, which is a really nice way again to catch some big fish. Just throwing a Kai tack on the back of them. But the Rage Menace has been an absolute hammer for me this year. So that's something I want to talk about. Next, Texas rig, jigs, different things like that, is going to be a structure bug. Made by Strike King. I don't buy Strike King ones. My buddy has a mold for them, which I've compared them side to side, and I'll do a video on them. I do think these catch a little bit more fish. It's just made with a different style of plastic, a different scent that he uses as well. But if I'm Texas rigging or flipping or using it on the back of a jig, the Strike King Rage Bug or Structure Bug is a fantastic way to catch some fish. And then also, going along with that with flipping, because flipping is one of my favorite things to do, is throwing a beaver bait. This is a Reaction Innovation beaver. What is this color called? This is Tramp Stamp. So it's got some green pumpkin and then some black and blue in the back. Really hits each color. We are also going through that time where the watercolor starts changing. Typically, where I fish, the watercolor gets really dirty right after winter. That was not the case. The winter did not have the effect on the water like it normally does, and it stayed clear pretty much all year round. It's now starting to get a little bit dirtier as winds picking up, rain's coming in randomly, severe thunderstorms and stuff like that. But something like this will work all year round, anywhere. It's got minimum action, so when you're flipping it into some lily pads, little action going down, fluttering, bass just come up and smoke it. Next, we've got some spark shads. It's a new tactic I'm trying to get into. Spark shads have caught some people some big fish. Just rigging it up like a regular swim bait, and that's the same thing with the Strike King 2.75s. Something like that. Same deal, right there on that little swim bait head. Trying to get a little bit more of those finicky fish. On a swim bait chasing some bait, you know. Sometimes when you throw like a 3.3 or 3.8, sometimes it can throw the bass off. If you can get the smallest one within the group, or bait fish, they just come up smoking. So next, we've got 3 more baits to talk about, and I'm not going to talk about these too much, but the Z-Man TRDs, fantastic Ned rig bait. Everyone knows about them, everyone uses them, they're great, they last forever. But I always keep at least 1 pack of TRDs on me. And this color isn't actually in the meat dog color. I'll show you guys real quick. A little bit of purple, a little bit of black or gray in there. Really nice, different color to throw. And then, last but not least, my drop shot and my Ned rig baits. These go hand in hand. And typically when summer comes, where it's dead of summer, July, I'll start throwing different drop shot baits. But for right now, as they're still feeding pretty hard on shad, I'll throw a Z2. This little baby Z2. Just a fluke style bait, but it lasts a little bit longer because it does have that last tack in there. Throwing that on a Ned head or a drop shot, just letting it kind of drift, and if you find some current, letting it drift, it's a fantastic way to catch the fish. And then one of my favorite baits I've tried so far this year, I've expanded a little bit. Typically, I don't try a lot of plastics. I stick to my couple brands that I really use. But the Ned Bomb by Missile Baits. This is in Goby Bite. Fantastic little bait, little finesse bait. Great for a drop shot, great for a Ned rig. And they make some bigger ones too, which I thought I had around here, but I guess I don't. Yeah, here we go. They make some bigger ones too, the Quiver, which is going to be a great, you can see the size difference, but same profile, same idea with that fluttery tail. This is going to be a great Nico rig bait and shaky head bait, but this is a fantastic drop shot and Ned rig bait. So that's going to be it though. I mean, that's what I bring. Like I said, I'm going to do a kayak video for this. I'm going to do a month of July on this. Because my kayak's a little bit different, you know, I'm bringing a little bit more tackle, more rods, different things like that. So, hope you guys did enjoy the video. I hope it was a little informational for some of you guys that are starting off and struggling. Leave a comment down below if you have any other questions, and what are your favorite June baits? I'd love to know. And if you did like the video, please smash the like button, give me a subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next time.